This week on the Gonez show, returning travelers back to Canada are being hit with massive bills, and the price tag will leave you shook. Plus, have you heard about the new superhighway plan for the Toronto area? We'll tell you about it. And a doctor in California caught doing one of the most outrageous things while still having someone on the operating table. It's wild. Also, in Your Voice, we speak with 3 mothers who've experienced heartbreaking loss and an open and honest and inside look into some shady real estate tactics that are driving up home prices. Then in good news, the late Alex Trebek is still leaving an impact. The Gonez show starts right now. BG Squad! Whew, what's good? Oh my goodness. I was gonna leave it to the end of the show, but we have to celebrate a huge achievement that we reached on this channel. 20,000 subscribers! It's because of you. No, it's because of you. It's really because of you. So let's continue all that goodness. Hit that subscribe button, tap that notification bell, and follow us on the socials. It's time for news you can use. Okay, what the heck is going on with these quarantine hotels? Like, the reason I'm asking you that is because the federal government, they're taking a lot of heat because of these new requirements for returning travelers. You know, the ones that we talked about were required to come back home and then they have to stay in these hotels for at least 3 days until they get a negative COVID-19 test. Well, listen to this. One family who recently returned home from Portugal in Toronto, they were charged more than $3,000 for their stay at a hotel. Take a listen.
We get to the hotel, get to the lobby, and when we go to check in, the manager there, or the people checking us in there, said your room stay is over $700 per night. And we said, wait a minute, you said $369 per night. And then they said, no, it's $719 per night. There's 3 of you. And it's a minimum of the 3 nights. And we said, well, fine, you know what? We're going to cancel it. We're just going to go home. They said, it doesn't matter. Your credit card is still going to be charged.
So I'm not going to lie. That bill is outrageous.
Outrageous.
It's kind of crazy.
It's wild.
And it's not the only example that we've seen across this country. Other families have experienced this as well. But I love to run the receipts, right? And we've talked about it in previous episodes that the federal government, they did come out and say that if you're returning back to Canada, you are going to face a hefty bill. Remember? Just in case you forgot, take a look at this.
Travelers will then have to wait for up to 3 days at an approved hotel for their test results at their own expense, which is expected to be more than $2,000.
If you thought our prices were high, well, I want to show you another example. I want to bring you to Australia. Look up at your screen, because Australian citizens, they have to foot a $3,000 hotel quarantine bill, and a family of 4 there will be hit with an invoice of around $5,000 for their stay.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so when you compare it to our prices, really isn't that bad. No. It really isn't. But here's the thing. I mean, at the end of the day, there's obviously a huge disconnect. The government has mandated these quarantine hotels basically as safe quarantine spaces. But at the same time, travelers are kind of at the mercy of these hotels who are setting the prices. And if you don't abide by the law, by the way, there is a hefty fine that you could face. And I'm talking upwards of $750,000. Oh yeah, or 6 months in prison.
What's interesting too is the fact that the hotels are setting the price and not the government. That's interesting. That's a conflict.
It is, because
they're for profit.
And that's the big thing that a lot of people brought up when the government first came out with this plan. But at the end of the day, the government also said, stay at home.
Facts. Facts.
Tanayayad.
Tanayayad.
10 ayayad.
So let us know what you think, BG Squad. Should this still be a thing, or should people be allowed to quarantine directly at home? But why are homes so expensive? Can somebody answer that question for me? No, seriously. Real estate is such a hot topic for so many people, but did you know? The average cost of a home in Toronto has now reached $1 million for the first time ever. And I know, you're probably at home sitting saying, well, houses have always been expensive in Toronto. Yeah, but when we talk about average prices, we're talking every single type of house, like condos, towns, semis, detached. You factor all of that in, it's now $1 million. In fact, look at your screen right here, because this little garage in Toronto, which is not even a house, it's just the garage, the land, is selling for more than $700,000.
You're lying.
Wow. Not lying. The facts are right there. The facts are right there. In fact, I want you to keep it locked here on the show, because in Open and Honest, we're going to dig a little bit deeper on this issue and talk about some shady real estate tactics that people are using that are actually driving up home prices.
Oh, I cannot wait.
Good. Cameraman Chris, have you heard about the new superhighway that's planned for the Toronto area?
No.
No? Well, I'm glad you're watching the Brandon Gonez show. Okay, so let me tell you about it. The highway, it's supposed to be called Highway 413, and construction could begin as early as next year. So look at your screen, because I want you to see what it looks like and where it would be. Basically, it would run east to west through areas of Vaughan, Caledon, Brampton, and Halton Hills. Now listen to this. The cost of building the superhighway, it ain't cheap. We're talking anywhere between $6 to $10 billion.
Brampton, they've been building the 410 since we were in high school.
And it
They're still building the 410.
And it pack up.
It's
pack
ridiculous.
Up. But listen to this. According to the Ford government, Doug Ford's government, they say the area northwest of Toronto has had significant population growth, and the province needs to figure out how to get people moving around the region. And the reality is this. Yes, they've been building the 410 nonstop, okay? But it's pack up. The 400, even more packed. The 401, which we've all been on.
Oh, no.
Worst highway.
No, DVP.
DVP, I'm triggered just thinking about it. No, it's trauma. It's trauma. And the reality is traffic is only going to get worse as the population of the Greater Toronto Area continues to grow. But here's the thing. Not everyone is in favor of this new highway. Some of those people who are opposed include the Mayor of Brampton, Vaughan City Council, the Ontario Greenbelt Alliance, the Green Party of Ontario as well. In fact, the leader recently had this to say about this project. Take a listen.
The government doesn't have money to pay for paid sick days or long-term care staff, but it has $6 to $10 billion to build a highway that will pave over 400 acres of the Greenbelt and 2,000 acres of prime farmland to save commuters 30 seconds.
There's always someone with an opinion on how they should spend the money.
Yeah, it's interesting because here's the thing. If you live in these areas and you have to travel on these highways, you probably want an alternative route or at least less congestion. But is it worth taking up valuable farmland and potentially seeing more urban sprawl, which is obviously not the best for the environment? Big question. So BG Squad, why don't you answer it? Let us know. Do you think the government should build this massive new highway 413, or should they find another solution? Drop it. So did you guys hear about the piece of drama about the Coming to America movie?
No.
What? Do you guys pay attention to the news?
We only watch your show.
I actually want to watch that movie.
Okay, so let me tell you about the drama. Okay, what did you want to watch?
Coming to America 2.
Oh, you should. But before you watch that, let me tell you about the drama about Coming to America 1, okay? So basically, Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, they were doing press about Coming to America 2, which was released not too long ago. And in an interview with Jimmy Kimmel, they were talking about how Louis Anderson was in Coming to America 1 and how he got his role. Listen to this.
How did Louis come to be a part of that film and your world there?
I love Louis, but I think we were forced to put Louis in it.
What?
No, I think we were forced to put a white person.
Yeah, Paramount was like because the whole cast is black, and this was back in the the 80s. So it was like, we have to have a white person. We can't it has to be a white person in the movie. Like, what? And so it was, who's the funniest white guy around, right? And Louis, we knew him, was cool with him. And so that's how Louis got in the movie.
So this generated a lot of buzz online.
That's actually reverse affirmative action.
Okay, never heard that one before, but okay, Chris. And listen, people are slamming Paramount over their collection of movies with all white casts compared to their lack of movies with all black casts. And rightfully so. And you know I love stats, because you can't argue with statistics. Statistics.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, isn't it? But a recent survey found that in Hollywood, look at your screen, more than 80% of executive producers and showrunners were white, while fewer than 20% were people of color. And listen, that's just in the States. I can tell you firsthand here in Canada, those numbers are even worse. So, BG Squad, let us know what you think. Do you think something like that would slide in 2021? We're in 2021, right? Yes. Okay, sorry, just wanted to make sure. Let us know in the comments section. In the meantime, I have to show you guys this next story. It's about this, video calls. We're all doing video calls, right? One video call went too far. Okay, it's about this doctor in California, and he had to go to court for a traffic ticket, right? But you have to do it over video nowadays. Well, he did it while he had somebody on the operating table.
You're lying.
No lies.
You're lying.
No lies told ever on the Brandon Gonez show. Take a look at this, okay? No, you can literally still hear the sounds of suction and medical machinery in the background. And let me tell you this, the judge was shook.
I do not feel comfortable for the welfare of a patient if you're in the process of operating that I would put on a trial, notwithstanding the fact that the officer's here today.
So I have another surgeon right here who's doing the surgery with me, so I can stand here and allow them to do the surgery also.
Not at all.
Yeah, the doctor literally thought there was nothing wrong. Nothing. You know what it is for me, Burns?
What?
The privilege. The privilege. So I'm gonna take a moment of pause.
Excuse me. You're doing too much.
Anyhow, I should say this. The Medical Board of California has said that they are looking into the matter. So we'll continue following that story. In the meantime, that's your news you can use for the week. Hey, BG Squad. You know, they say no parent should ever have to bury their child. Yet for far too many parents, that's been their reality due to gun violence. On this week's Your Voice, we speak with 3 mothers who've experienced that exact trauma. Yet somehow, they've found the strength to turn that into action for change. We really want to make this a piece where people can really relate to the reality. So I want to ask you, because I know it's been nearly 2 decades since you lost your son. Do you still remember that day?
Yes, like it was yesterday. It's something that you'll never forget, right?
My name is Shauna Brown, and I lost my son, Demal Graham.
My name is Joan Howard, and I lost my son, Kempton Howard.
My name is Evelyn Fox, and I lost my son, Kissinger Gunn, to an act of gun violence in the city of Toronto.
What happened that day?
My son went out with his fiance and my nephew, and they went to 42 Supper Club. They ended up leaving, and my nephew noticed that one of the other people that they went with or brought to the club that night was in an argument of some sort with somebody else, and he pulled the car over to go get the other guy, and my son got out of the car after my nephew did, and just crossed over the street, and within seconds of crossing over the street he was hit with a stray bullet.
It was July 23rd of 2017.
Yeah.
And he was shot in our driveway. He was 25.
His birthday was the 6th of December. He got shot the 13th of December, and I put him down the 22nd of December. Today I was preparing for Sunday lunch. And I brought this Christmas trees, like a stick with all these little branches and the bulb on it. And then he said, "Oh, Mom, he was a joker. Oh, Mom, where you get that, in the garbage?" You know, so I say, you know what? When you come back, you'll see how nice it looked. But he didn't make it back. So I always tell people December is not a good month for me.
All of our lives just completely changed in that one incident, like in that one split minute. And it's never been the same since.
You don't expect something like that will ever happen to you. You know what I mean? Like you think they're 26 years old. You've already gone through the worst. They passed the stages of rebellion and they're making a life of themselves.
What was the hardest part for you?
We was just about going to buy a house, and the hardest part, because he had just gotten a scholarship from Raptors Foundation, and he was going to be a physio. So not knowing he's not around to see what he would accomplish.
He lost his dad when he was very young. He lost his dad when he was 12 to illness. And music was his outlet to get his feelings and his emotions and his life experiences out. He had put forth and applied for a grant to start a music program for the Malvern community to assist other kids, to utilize music as an outlet. And he got the grant. Unfortunately, it never came to fruition because he was killed.
You have Millie on your mask.
Always.
What does it mean to wear that mask?
He's always with me.
I miss him. I genuinely miss him. Every single thing about him. Even the things that he used to do that used to drive me insane. I wish I could get those back.
I know there was a $50,000 reward.
There still is.
For somebody to come forward. Has anybody come forward? Have you gotten justice?
Nope. This street code of no snitching and people's egos are larger than the devastation that my family has endured.
We know who it is, and the streets know who it is, but nobody wants to come forward to bring justice.
We talk about abolishing the police and we talk about, not having police in our communities, but how do you expect us not to have police in our communities if you're not willing to police your own communities? We have to police our own communities to rid ourselves of people who are killing and terrorizing our communities.
If you could say something right now to the person who murdered your son, if you had their ear, what would you say?
I would say take accountability for what you did.
I know you're not alone in this reality, but through all of this pain, you found a way to still have strength to support other people. Talk to me about those initiatives that you're a part of.
Well, that's been a huge part of my healing and a huge part of my strength.
Communities for Zero Violence was created in my son's honor. At first, it was more about, getting out there and having people see the devastation that it causes and to hopefully generate witnesses to get justice for my son. But then it became bigger when I saw how deeply my children were being impacted.
And what's the action you want to see done?
So curb the guns that coming over the border. Put things in place for us, mother. Put things in place, back in place for the youths, so they wouldn't be idle.
And the government doesn't seem to think that these communities, it's like they almost don't view them as real people, that they aren't worthy of the funding that they would prefer to use on a gun ban. So they're willing to put billions into buying back people's firearms that have absolutely nothing to do with the community violence. But they don't want to put the same billions into the communities to ensure that we have children who have adequate trauma support. We have culturally specific trauma support and stuff that's covered under OHIP.
We know what each other is going through. We know the journey that we're all on. Everybody's journey is different, but the reality is the same. And it's just so empowering to know that that we have a voice and that we can make a difference.
And we just want to thank Shauna, Joan, and Evelyn for taking the time and finding the courage to tell us their stories and share the lives of their sons. Real estate is such a hot topic, and every year it seems prices just go up and up and up, and more people get caught up in bidding wars. But have you ever thought there's something shady about this process? Well, in this week's Open and Honest, we did some digging, and you won't believe what we found out.
I want to start off by asking you, how long have you been in the real estate industry?
9 years.
I asked that because that means you've probably seen a lot of things, witnessed a lot of things, experienced the ups, the lows, and the entire roller coaster that comes with real estate.
It's been mainly kind of an up. Sometimes there's kind of a balancing, and then there's an up, and then there's a balancing. The one thing that doesn't change is year over year, prices just keep going up.
You know, one thing that I hear about far too often are these bidding wars.
Right.
And it seems like anybody who tries to purchase a home, especially in the Greater Toronto area, finds themselves in a bidding war. It seems weird to me that there's a lack of transparency. Like when you put in a bid, right, you don't know what anybody else has bid.
Right.
And so then how are you supposed to, if you're a buyer, trust that you're not overpaying if you go back for more? Like, it seems a bit shady.
You know what? It should be transparent. I've been a real estate agent now for almost 10 years, but I'm also just a human living in Ontario and a consumer. It is not fair. It shouldn't, because if somebody goes in, let's just take 500,000, $500,000. If there's 4 offers, let's say somebody offers 600,000, and then there's 3 other offers, let's say at 550 or 510. That person that paid 600,000 would not have had to pay 600,000 if they knew what the other offers were. And unfortunately, in this market, sometimes that's very high and almost close to an uncomfortable level for some buyers just to get into the market.
So is that legal? Like the government allows that to happen?
That's the only legal way. Right now, we don't have open bidding or an auction. You can have an auction, it's just not done in Ontario.
What happens if that listing agent were to go back to those top offers and say, hey, you're a little bit under another offer, come back with more? Is that allowed to happen? And then how?
You're not allowed to say you're a little bit under, because then you're revealing what the other offers could be. What you can say as a listing agent, you can say, do you want to improve your price? That's a legal way of saying, come up $10,000 and you'll get it.
The entire bidding war process feels like it can be abused.
That's why I think it should be all open. Consumers should see what the other offers are and should know if they're paying $100,000 more than the one right behind them.
Do you think these bidding wars are what's contributing to these massive increase in house prices and home prices across Canada, for that matter?
If all of the offers were displayed, you would probably have a more gradual climb in the marketplace. I think right now we're seeing huge steps in the marketplace because of supply and demand, but because of what people are paying for houses too.
I know, Sean, you're an honest guy, right? And you're honest at your profession. But and I don't want you to call out anybody, but have you ever witnessed anything that, practice-wise from other agents that probably wasn't the most right thing to do?
Yeah, like what can happen is a listing agent could say, come up $50,000 and it's yours. That's not allowed. Does it happen? Maybe.
What advice do you have for the average person who is going to hear this and they're going to feel a little bit defeated? Like, how should they maneuver all of this?
You know what? There's ways to get in the market. You don't have to buy $1 million detached home downtown Toronto. You can still get in the market because whatever you buy in real estate, it will grow. The people that are buying these $1 million, $2 million homes, or even $700,000 townhomes, they got into the market 10 years ago and have the equity. Best advice, get into whatever you can get in, because you don't want to look back in a year from now or 5 years from now and 10 years from now and go, that was the price then, and look at the price now.
I want to ask you about potential solutions to this bidding war issue. what other alternative options are there that the government could explore that could potentially benefit the average person wanting to get into the housing market?
I think the best thing that the government can do is when you sell your house, you have to provide a certified home inspection and you have to provide an independent third-party appraisal. So a bank or a certified appraiser has to appraise the home at a certain price and you get a certified inspection. So then when you sell your home, the buyers can look at what it's worth and what the condition of the home is.
Are you concerned for the state of just access to housing?
I think housing should be a right, not a privilege. I am concerned about it. Right now, it's a privilege to own a house. I don't think that's fair. That's why the government maybe should step in, do some things to slow it down. It's tough to get in the market. If you have a good job, two people with good jobs, maybe, who knows, in their 20s, 30s, even 40s, you should be, as a Canadian citizen, be able to buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be such a privilege for just the people who have 200 in the bank.
Sean, thank you so much for your insights and for being transparent. I really hope that this does help a lot of our viewers, but also inspires the government to maybe look into some of these rules to help benefit more people. So thank you so much for being open and honest.
My pleasure. Take care.
And we did reach out to the Ontario government about this story, and they did provide a statement. Here's what it reads. There are several rules regarding multiple offer situations that are in place to protect buyers. For example, registrants are prohibited from presenting an offer on behalf of a buyer that is not in writing. In addition, brokerages must disclose the number of competing offers received to every person making a competing offer, but must not disclose the substance of those offers. The rules governing real estate registrants will be updated to better address today's business practices and consumer expectations, reduce red tape for business, and strengthen consumer protection. And of course, we're gonna continue following the story on the Brandon Gonez Show. All right, let's switch gears, switch it up, switch it up, switch it up. It's time for good news. All right, we've made it to good news. And you know, there's a beloved Canadian that I think everybody can agree has a special place in our hearts. You guys know who I'm talking about. Alex Trebek, you know, the longtime host of Jeopardy. And while he's no longer here in the flesh, can I tell you, this man is still leaving a positive impact. Watch this.
He is one of the most enduring and recognizable figures on television.
Try to be aware of when you leave this earth that you've made a difference in the lives of other people, a positive difference.
The work that the Doe Fund is putting in today, it means that I'll never have to sleep on another park bench or another train.
We're breaking the cycle of poverty and incarceration.
Wasn't that nice?
That was so
That's nice. Like, that's how you leave your footprints in the sand.
Legacy.
Legacy, right? It's all about legacy. And my legacy is to say...
It's not about you.
Wow. I actually was waiting to hear what he was going to say.
You know what? We'll save it for next week's episode because it's time that this one comes to an end. So BG Squad, you know we love you for watching. If you have any stories you want to send us, good or bad, or ideas, hit us up, news@BrandonGonezShow.com. And listen, I said it at the top of the show, we hit 20K, baby! Go to 100! Go to 100, so click that subscribe button right now, tap that notification bell, share this episode if it really hit you, and make sure to follow us on our socials. We say it every single week. We love you for watching. We'll see you same place, same time next week.